So our care culture map represents the spectrum of care from the doors firmly locked through to person-centred around halfway and beyond, through the eyes of garden engagement, and there's more garden engagement naturally from person-centred onwards. But on our map there are several boxes I refer to as our reality check boxes, and so I thought I'd just sort of point out roughly where they are along that spectrum and what they are. So really quite low on this spectrum is a statement box of that there is an open door policy, but importantly that is facilitated and enacted on the ground. So it's no good on saying that you're having an open door policy to secure gardens and spaces if actually those doors are locked or complicated and people can't actually access out of them. Slightly further up we have a similar reality check box whereby residents are able to engage with the garden regardless of the proximity of where they are within the care setting to that garden space. So this may be particularly relevant in care homes for people who live on upper floors who wish to go out. So is that facilitated? And if it's not, then are we being truly person-centred if that is the wish or need or interest for that particular resident? A little further up, there are two boxes quite close together, and these two have to be overcome to truly get to person-centred. The first is a great British classic. It's all about the weather. So how weather aware is this organisation, and is the organisation prepared and ready to use the garden regardless of the weather? The weather, in my view, is actually an opportunity for activities that are seasonally based and appropriate 365 days of the year. And as the Scandinavians say, there's never the wrong weather, it's just the wrong clothing. So how are you overcoming and making the most of all of the weather and all of the seasons, and enabling people who wish to go out throughout the year? And slightly above that is a really important key tipping point of a change towards truly person-centred care. And this is where the organisation realises that engagement with the garden is driven by the people and not necessarily the things that are in it. And actually where there are things in the garden, those things are driven by resident interests, needs and desires, and staff too. And so it is the people that are driving engagement through the way that they care, interact, engage. When we get to person-centred care, we see a shift over into this health and safety column, of whereby we see that risks are assessed based on the residents' capability to undertake them and how to carry them out safely. And it's more about a can-do. How can we make something happen? Importantly, you can't jump from down here, where you might be risk assessing the things and the activities, to risk assessing the resident, unless you have embedded the changes to know your resident well. You could put your resident at risk. So the map isn't designed to be able to jump ahead and cherry pick above where you may be. You do need to embed the skills across your whole home to make the changes. And we have one box that I just love, and it is really quite high on our map, and it's just before relationship-centred care. So this is into that territory where we're blurring who is the carer versus who is being cared for, much like you'd find in a domestic caring home setting. And so here we actually have our box we affectionately refer to as our NAPA, the National Activity Providers Association box, because it reflects their ethos, but it is what we saw on the ground in our study, and that is that at this point you have an organisation that understands that activity is everybody's job, and it also understands that activity goes beyond the big events and the bingo, and includes all of those things that most of us would want to do in our day, and it can be the simple act of sitting and having a conversation with somebody in the garden, through to more complex tasks and activities that need support. But in homes that we saw at this level within our study and our wider work, we saw that actually all the staff worked together. So regardless of role, when the moment arose, they all took their part in helping residents undertake what they wish. Which leads to the very top of our box on our map, where at the very top here, we don't really feel there's a top, it continues, but we see an organisation that's using the garden most days of the year, and that residents are able to engage meaningfully, doing activities there as and when they wish. So whereabouts were those reality check boxes for you? Where did they sit in relation to person-centred, which is about midway? And if you want to find out more, go to our website to find out more details about our research and also to obtain your copy of the Care Culture Map and Handbook.